Welcome to Dream Stories podcast, back again for another episode. And we have Elisa back in the studio for audio and video recording again this week.
Yeah, I've been out for a little while, haven't I?
You have. You've missed, 2 weeks? Something like that?
I don't
Which
know.
is
It may have been more than that.
3 weeks of
Okay, yeah.
process or something like that. You
mhm.
had a little bit of surgery on your eyes. And they
Yeah.
look so bright and beautiful.
Well, thank you.
All right. So we're going to be talking more about dreams today and also a new look to the studio. So if you're watching and not just listening, then you can see things have changed. So.
I mean, it isn't. I would say it's a new look, but it's still growing because we're not.
Well, it's a work in
finished.
progress.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not finished,
Yeah.
but we're getting there. If you're just listening on the podcast, then you can also check it out on YouTube and see the video side as well.
Okay.
So it's all good.
Yeah.
So talking about dreams.
Yeah.
Just changing the subject rapidly and immediately. You had a cool dream last night
Yeah.
that actually came into play almost immediately for some wisdom and direction for one of our sons.
Well, I first let me just say this. It's like I would say the last year, I feel like I haven't been remembering my dreams as well. Now, that may not bother you, Michael French, but for me,
Well, it just
it's
means I don't have to listen to
traumatizing.
so many,
I
so.
know, but I dream so much. I mean, I have 5, for those who listen all the time, they know how many dreams a night I have. I'll have 5 dreams a night usually, and I'll usually remember all of them. Now, some of that may just come with age, or if you're having a deeper sleep, or if you're not sleeping well. I mean, I think all those things can, factor into why you're not remembering your dreams.
Did you listen to last week's episode?
Nah.
See there?
I don't listen. I don't usually listen to myself.
But it was just me last week. You should have listened.
What'd
Do you know what I
what'd
talked
say?
about?
Nah. I don't.
I already know
Well,
you
why
don't
don't-
know
well,
because
why
I spent 30 minutes talking about remembering your dreams.
Oh,
So
really?
I did, so that's kind of cool. You didn't know that.
Well, I did
And
pray
jumped
right
into
before
the
I came up
issue,
here,
so.
so maybe
So-
I'm hearing. But anyway, so I was thinking about how I had not been remembering my dreams, and then I even had someone tell me recently that they weren't really remembering their dreams. And so I had remember a previous podcast where we had John Paul Jackson's wife on, Diane Jackson, and she had talked about, really engaging and asking our Creator, who we believe is the one who creates dreams.
Right.
He interacts with us even while we're sleeping. We should not think that God's not going to interact with us while we're asleep. So she said we should, actively engage and ask God for a dream.
Right.
So that he can reveal things to us. So I've been doing that because I haven't been remembering my dreams as well. And I thought, well, maybe I'm not making that an important part because I do feel like it's, I feel like God teaches me through it, and I don't share every dream with you just so you know. I know you think
Just
I do.
almost every dream.
Because sometimes I just keep them to myself, as God teaches me. Because if I told you everything I dreamed about, then you'd have to hear how I'm humbled many times. But anyway.
Now, that might be fun.
No, for you maybe. But anyway.
It's interesting you're talking about, before we jump into the specific dream, it's interesting you're talking about interacting and interacting with our Creator in dreams.
Yeah.
That's something we talk about a lot, but there's been some research that just came out this week. You initially mentioned it to me, and then I saw a news report on it.
I think I sent you the news article.
No, and I actually saw a news report that just popped up on my phone too, a different one, right, on the same topic.
Okay.
That actually talks about scientists are trying to interact with people during their dreams.
Right.
And what I thought was interesting about it was they were talking about the idea that when people are in the midst of dreaming, can they communicate with people who are awake?
Yeah, I read that article.
Right, okay. And so the idea when you first mentioned it and when I was first looking at it, I thought it was like, are they going to be starting out to say we influence the dreams by talking to the person and redirect the dream or change it?
Right.
Or are we doing something where we're talking about while they're asleep, finding out what they're dreaming? And that wasn't it. It was just all they were figuring out was that the mind can be alert
And engaged.
and engaged during the dream, specifically for folks who are lucid dreaming, who are aware that they're dreaming.
Right.
And so what they were doing in this experiment was they were asking, they singled out lucid dreamers, and then they trained them to engage more in being alert and aware during their dreaming.
Right.
And they gave them math problems. So when they would go to sleep and they could tell they were in REM sleep, they would say like, what is 6 minus 4? And so since they couldn't talk, because we talk sometimes about the sleep paralyzation where you're paralyzed during your sleep, that's normal and natural, by the way.
Right.
Well, it is normal, natural, unless there's something else going on. So,
true.
So, I mean, there could be something spiritual going on as well.
Right.
But so they could not move anything but their eyes. So how in REM sleep, your eyes jiggle back and forth or move real rapid eye movement is what it is. So they would ask them, what's 6 minus 4? And they would move their eyes. They don't do their cheeks like I just did. They would move their eyes right and left in order to, they could see the movement of the eyes, and it would count 1, 2. So that would be the answer.
Are you kidding
me?
No,
that's what they would do.
Now, apparently, I only read half that article because I didn't see that part.
Right. So what they were learning was we knew that our Creator can interact with us in the dream.
Right.
That we have an alertness in the spirit.
Right.
But they're trying to show that other people can interact. And what they found was it's extremely difficult on a natural human level to interact in the dream. I think it was something like 18% of the subjects were able to correctly answer the question.
Okay.
And something like 40 or 50% either got the question wrong or could not respond at all. Okay. So they found some people could interact, but it was really tough. And I love it because you're talking about how easy it is for us to interact with our Creator.
Yeah.
Yet at the same time, they're actually proving it's possible, but it's actually rather difficult on a natural level to interact in the dream. And to me, that just shows us something about the supernatural, spiritual nature of dreaming.
Well, another thing I'm doing, which I love that, because I was thinking the other day, our granddaughter had spent the night with us. So she's lying beside me, and I knew she was dreaming because she went, she started laughing. Well, I just laughed with her, but I laughed louder and harder. And when I did that, she busted out laughing. So I knew there was like this, she was hearing something. And it was kind of, I think, maybe integrating in her dream, or she heard an agreement to the laughter. And I've also had a dream where the telephone rang and I was actually dreaming. And I woke myself up saying, hello. You know, so it kind of, in my dream,
registering.
Yeah, and in my dream, I saw a phone and it was ringing, but it probably wouldn't have been in my dream had the phone not rang. So it's just interesting that we have that.
And another thing this research was showing was that the different ways that these lucid dreamers were identifying what was being communicated with them.
Yeah.
So they were saying that most of them, there was one person who heard, this is how they described it. They heard a voice like God speaking to them, asking them the mathematics problem.
Oh.
And they responded to it. One out of all the subjects.
Right.
Most people, the question got integrated into their dream like they saw 4 puppies or 6 puppies and 4 puppies run away, just leaving 2 or something like that. They didn't say exactly
in a metaphorical
what.
sense.
Yeah, they saw it in a metaphorical sense.
Did you remember me waking you up last night because you were running in your sleep?
No, I don't remember at all.
You were going, like that. And I said, Michael, and I rub your arm gently because to me you were in a bad dream because you. Yeah, when you struggle and you start grunting, I know you're either fighting somebody or running really hard. And you was like, oh yeah. I was like, were you in a bad dream? And you said, yeah. But you don't remember.
I don't remember it all. I don't even remember you waking me up. So
one thing I think is interesting is this morning I woke up at about 6. Lord knows that's too early for me, so I went back to sleep. And when I went back to sleep is when I had this dream that I want to talk to you about.
Yeah, and I want to tie what we're going to talk about to what we've been talking about, because what we're really talking about is the interactive nature of dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
So science is trying to peg hard a direct physical interaction to invoke interaction into the dream.
Right.
But in reality, God, in a spiritual way, is interacting with us by the dream, having the dream.
Right.
And that becomes real apparent when we see, particularly when we see very immediate applications for the dream.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we have a dream, it gets interpreted, or even maybe doesn't get interpreted, but we see 6 months later, 12 months later, we realize, oh, that's what that dream was about.
Yeah.
That's what it was relating to. This is what it was saying.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really apparent how God is wanting to interact with his creation.
Yeah.
When we see something like what you had last night, which is you woke up at 6, so you know the dream happened after 6.
Yeah.
But I got up at 8 and was taking Jacob, our son, to go out and look for a car. He was buying a new car.
Right.
And your dream had occurred in between that.
Yeah.
In between 6 and 8.
Yeah.
Because that's when you woke up and told me. So just in that 2-hour window, you had an interactive spiritual experience with God that had immediate application.
Yeah,
and that's something we don't get to see real often, that speaks to how significant that spiritual interaction is.
Right. And I want to say to people, just because you don't have 6 dreams a night does not mean God's not speaking to you at all.
Right.
I just said that's my norm, and something changed. Now, that doesn't mean that things can't change for us. I've had other seasons where I couldn't remember my dreams. You know, so I'm not saying it's bad. It's just something that I don't know.
It was different for you.
It was different for me, and I want to make sure that I'm not suppressing something that I might need to say, okay, I need to check myself. So,
and what I find interesting, and again, tying these topics together, is that you were experiencing dreams that were frequent and a high quantity of dreaming in the night. That slacks off. It slows down.
Right.
And when it slows down, the significance of a dream you do have rises. So the quantity of dreams decrease, and the significance of recognizing there's something being said to you increases. Whereas on the other hand, when your quantity is high, the significance often doesn't, I won't say it's not as high, but it's not as noticeable because you're dealing with the multiple dreams. So in a sense, you can recognize that by the decrease in your dreams, it's telling you, it's not just that something's wrong, it may be telling you that you're going to have some dreams that you need to pay attention to because they're significant.
I agree. And I've had 3 pretty powerful dreams over the last few days. You know, I shared a couple of them with you. I try not to overwhelm you and give you too many because I know, you know, it can weigh on you. And people may not realize that. Just because I'm married to you does not mean you enjoy interpreting my dreams.
Well, it's hard to interpret a dream for someone you're really close to because you presume things.
You do. And then if it's a corrective dream for me,
then you don't want me to
interpret
hard
it.
For you. Because it's hard for you to hear it.
Yeah, you bet. You know, I could react, I could cry, I could say, you're just saying that because you know that about me, and or you know we argued about that last week, so now you're just saying that. You know, so it is good to stay away from that. Symbols are okay, but and there have been times even when you've had dreams and I'm like, oh my gosh, Michael, you don't know what your dream means. I mean, I'm just flabbergasted. And then I'll ask you, do you want me to share with you what I see? And you'll tell me.
I'm not always happy when you tell me.
But I don't usually.
No, but when I ask for it, it's different. When I ask you to tell me, it's easier to receive, even if it's not maybe the thing I'm most excited about. But I think this whole concept really revolves around this interactive nature. It's interactive because of your quantity of dreams is affecting the interaction.
Right.
The spiritual input from our Creator is a part of the interaction.
Right.
And here we have this becoming a big deal for us right now. That in the way you're experiencing it, at the same time, a scientific study is coming out about interaction in dreams. So I think it's saying something to us about the value of the interactive, crossing the spiritual dimension and interacting in the spiritual realm in my opinion,
Right.
is actually far more significant than being able to just interact with a person, answering a person's question.
Well,
Interacting with my creator has so much
Yeah.
more significance.
And even preparing ourselves before we go to sleep, I pray and I ask Father God, speak to me.
Right.
What do I need to hear? What do I need to know? And I don't want everybody to think that we live our lives every day according to dreams, because we don't.
No,
But,
we do get to
honestly,
talk about them a lot, and therefore what happens is the few dreams that have tremendous significance, people hear about
Well,
because we
first of
talk
all,
about it in the podcast.
Exactly. We do a podcast once a week.
Mm-hmm.
We are 25 years old.
I'll take that.
We've been dreaming a long time.
Yeah.
And many of the examples I use are from years past sometimes.
Right.
But this is a current one, and I do want to get to
Yeah,
it. But
I want you to jump into it. So.
Well, one other thing I want to say is there was some other scientific research not too long ago that they came out with where they had interviewed people, and there was this young lady, and she says, I can create my dreams. So she'll sit before she dreams, she'll draw all this stuff, and she'll think about things, and those things get incorporated into her dream. And you've probably experienced this where maybe you went and saw a King Kong movie, and then that night you dreamed about a big King Kong in your dreams.
Right.
Or you have nightmares about them like I do.
You don't like monkeys.
I
in your
don't
dreams,
like.
so. You don't like
I don't like
gorillas in your dreams.
gorillas
Right,
in my dreams. Silverbacks, most importantly. But anyway.
Well, and real quick for people's benefit, what we're talking about there is a soul dream type scenario.
Well,
in other words, you generated that out of your own soul, and it does show up in dreams.
It will.
And just like the scientists experimenting, they're going to create an interaction.
Right.
It's a soulless interaction, not a spiritual interaction.
Don't let me lose my thought. You're getting excited. I want to say something.
Go ahead.
So I'm afraid I'll forget. That's because of my age.
Say it before you forget.
Well, Michael, you made it leave me.
I made it leave you.
Yes, you put pressure on me. Okay. So we had a friend, a mentor, who told us what you focus on, you empower. Right. So I think I'm not saying we need to go and create our dreams, but what I'm saying is if you focus on fearful things, you create a fearful possibly exactly. But when we go to bed in peace, I think that's so important. So if you're not at peace when you go to sleep, at least try to find peace.
Right. We talked about that last week when it was just me.
Oh,
and
really?
then you were doing that this week. But last night you were doing that because you were focused on, I need answers, and you wanted to dream. So you put yourself into a place of growing calmer and more peaceful to hear from your creator. I'm going back to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm just going to see what happens.
Yeah. And the other thing that'll help you recall your dreams before you get up and start stirring is just lay there for a minute. This is a new thing I haven't even really talked to you about. I just go through a couple of things. Like this morning, I woke up and I was like, I couldn't remember the dream at first. Right. So I was laying there and I was like, okay, A, B, C, D. I was trying to think. I go through kind of like this thing of, okay, I didn't dream about letters, or then I'll go through my family, or I'll go through my animals, like my pets, my animals.
Your cats.
That didn't sound right. My animals, my cats. My animals could be my children too, but anyway. So I go through my cats.
I'm sure behind the camera there's some children giggling.
We dream. I dream about my cats a lot, and you do too. So I thought, were there cars? And I was like, no. And then you walked out of the restroom and you said, I said, what are you doing? You said, I'm going to take Jacob to look for a car. And I was like, I had a dream last night, And so, you want me to tell you the dream?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because we've been building up to it for about 20 minutes.
Now we only got about 10 minutes left, so we need to go through it.
So the dream was that you and I were standing outside, and Jacob were standing outside this mountain that had a train tunnel going through it. Right. And the train was not really big or really loud. It was not like even prominent at first. It was what was occurring in the dream that made me think the train was important. But anyway, so that when you stood next to the train, it probably come to about your height, but it was big enough that we could get in and sit in a car. So it wasn't like a children's train, but it was just big enough to be for adults.
Like a zoo train or something, like a little bit larger
slightly
than that.
Bigger and slightly more enclosed, Yeah. But anyway, so the train is choo-chooing through and about to go into the tunnel.
Choo it. I just love it. I'm sorry.
Okay. It's chewing through the tunnel. And then right as that's happening, Jacob, he is on a mission and he has a car that he is dragging behind him, and he wedges in between the train. It's not like going real fast, and he's tugging it and he's trying to get it in between the tunnel wall and the train.
So he can get in first.
So he can get in first.
Right.
And I was like, Jacob, we were both like, Jacob, calm down, slow down. This doesn't need you're about to, have a wreck with this train. And, in a dream, things don't make sense because by the time this is all happening, somebody should have had a wreck. It was a very tight squeeze. So, in fact, they were kind of grinding against each other. Mm-hmm. So much so that the train, whoever was driving the train, decided to back up a little bit. And they're like, well, this guy's not going to give up. So he's going on through. So he went on through. And as he was going, apparently there was some type of a pulley that was pulling the train into the tunnel. And Jacob was walking all over it and dragging his car over it. And it was kind of making that train pulley kind of just get all tangled up or whatever.
Yeah.
And we were like, Jacob, you're gonna make this train not be able to go, so just calm down. And he finally realized he was the winner in the tunnel, and so he calmed down. And when the dream went on a little bit more, we got on, and my cousins were on there, Lynn and Teresa.
Yeah. But you get the family gets into the train then and is able to go ahead and move forward at the end of the dream.
Kind of at the end of the dream, we're kind of at the base of this mountain right outside our door, and I know there's not a train track there, but we're at the base of this mountain and we're looking up at it, and we know there's a station there, and that we're going to get off at the station, and my cousins continue on on the train, so we get off.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But what now? I want you to just tell folks what you felt like the dream meant, and then I'll go over the experience of the day being out with Jacob.
Okay. So right when you're about to leave, I said, I feel like it's probably a significant dream because you are really the one who was saying, Jacob, calm down, wait, just be calm. And I was too a little bit. But I think the dream was about what was happening last night and what was happening today. So the dream, I felt like the dream was we needed to be helping Jacob not rush into a situation that has to dealing with a car, because he was wanting to purchase a car. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't want him to rush into something, and that he just needed to take his time. But once he took his time, he was going to come out the winner, but he just needed to do it nice and slow, and things were going to be okay, and things were going to get on track.
And the thing I think was interesting, as you said this morning, was he's not necessarily going to do it our way.
Yeah.
But it's going to be okay.
And even last night, see, he's an older young man. Even though I'm his parent, I want him to have his independence. But he has never walked through the process of buying a car.
A new car.
New car. Where you're sitting down in somebody's office and you have to haggle.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Right? So I just thought, okay. So we went through part of that process last night. It was he and I, but I was exhausted. So it was your turn today.
So I took him to look for a vehicle today, and he had made a determination, absolute hardcore decision. He was buying a particular type of car, a particular Nissan. Nissan Kicks is the car he wanted. Now Jacob's a stocky.
He's a burly kind of guy.
Yeah, he's a stocky guy.
Yeah.
He's not married or dating anybody, so he's a good-looking, stocky guy. Just saying that.
I said burly. I think I gotta look up burly.
Well, no, that's why I wanted to be clear, just for anybody, any single, young ladies watching. Okay. He's a good-looking guy. Okay.
All my boys.
Now we have a dating service, not just a dream interpretation.
Well, I think we got a bunch of young men in this room. We could probably.
We could probably. So
we could probably make some money. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So let me go over what happens. So he's a stocky guy.
Yeah.
And this Kicks Nissan is not a lot of room. In fact, you had mentioned to me this morning after all this that he had a hard time buckling the seatbelt in the Kicks because the way and I saw what it was when he got there and sat in it.
It was not that it wouldn't go around him.
It was the nature of the way it reached.
Right.
He took up. It's such a tiny front seat.
One that he took it up is that there was this storage thing that came in too close to the stick shift. But anyway, go ahead.
I understand. So, but anyway, it didn't. it was difficult. Then he was able to make it work
It
much
was
better.
awkward.
Learn it. It's awkward, right? Able to do it much better, but you could still see he just fills that front part of the car up, and so it was a tight squeeze, just
Oh, I
like
didn't think about
the
that.
tight squeeze to get his car up in front of the train.
I wish you could have seen him in the dream. It was like a child with a toy that was determined it was going to squeeze through a door or something that it couldn't.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, and so he was determined to buy that car.
Yeah, he was.
And so we sit down, and now this is really weird because if you go into car dealerships much, you know they want you to commit right then
yeah.
to buy the car.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to the not just the salesperson, but the
F&I guy.
the sales manager guy.
That's the F&I guy.
Okay, whatever. Finance and
Finance and
insurance.
insurance,
Okay,
yep.
so I just wanted to define that just in case.
Okay.
So I'm talking to him, and I'm saying to him, we're not making a decision right now. And
Right.
I was just we're not making a decision right now. I said, he wants a Nissan Kicks.
Yeah.
And I said, and my thing is, I've told him, Jacob, absolutely not. I don't mean this bad, son, but absolutely not. You are going to go sit in and drive some other brand of car first and decide. And the finance guy, the sales manager,
Mhm.
looks at Jacob and says, son, you don't know how much wisdom you've got sitting here with you right now. And sends Jacob off to drive another car.
Yeah.
They don't do this.
Sales managers or F&I guys do not do
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And so we go
Unless they're
and
good guys.
drive.
Maybe he's a,
Well, he was a real nice guy.
Okay.
He really was. So we go to another company thinking we're going to look at a Mazda.
Mm-hmm.
The dealership's not even the same anymore. It's not. It's a Hyundai dealership
Right.
now. I mean, they've literally changed dealerships.
Right.
Same location,
Right.
and there's no Mazdas there.
Right.
But the lady says, "Oh, I've got last year's model Mazda CX something that he can sit in." It was smaller. It didn't fit even more.
He told me, he said, I sat in it, Mama. It was so
and
tight.
he said that's the only other one I would want.
Right.
And so it didn't work. So then we go, and she goes, well, just look at our version is the something. I forget what it was. So, and we looked at it, and he didn't like it. I didn't like it. Anything else. She goes, now we have one other one. Come to find out, it's the one that's comparable to the Kicks, called a Venue, a Hyundai Venue. And he goes and sits in it. He's got lots of room. He's not sitting like felt like he was right up against the front windshield.
Mhm.
He had more headroom
He
in
did.
it.
Mhm.
It was such a much nicer vehicle.
But
So
that's
he
not the
had
car
pushed-
we would have chosen, is it?
we would not have chosen that car for him.
No.
Matter of fact, we tried to talk him out of it.
Yes.
Just brand issues
Yeah.
and things.
Yeah.
And he was determined he liked that car better.
Right.
And had no idea that car existed.
Right.
Had you not told him the dream this morning and said, son, don't get in too much of a hurry.
Hmm.
Let there be time. You can do it your way,
Right.
but give it time.
Right.
So what happened? The sales manager backed up,
Yeah.
did not push him.
Yeah.
He ends up at another one of the same companies, just different model car
Right.
dealerships, and they show him something he's never seen before, and it turns out to be the perfect car for him.
And things get on track.
And things get on track.
And that's
And
great.
it was an immediate answer,
Mhm.
interactive process. You got an answer because you were looking for dreaming more. You wanted your creator to speak to you, etc. And you get this interactive experience that has immediate application.
Yeah.
So you get a spiritual interaction
Yeah.
that has a real world application.
Yeah.
Whereas the experiments and the scientific study they've been doing is looking for a real world interaction to create a real world experience.
Yeah.
So much better.
Yeah.
When we look for the spiritual
Yeah.
interaction.
So, look, our advice to you would be go to sleep in peace. Ask your creator God to speak to you. If you need calmness, then, read a psalm or something that brings peace to you,
And wait on your creator to
Yeah,
interact with you.
absolutely.
It's awesome.
Expect it.
That's right. Well, we're out of time. I think we just ran right through that and jumped in. We're out of time. Let me just say to you before we go, we really appreciate your interaction. So much more interaction this past week. All of it saying people missed you, by the way. But so much more interaction. Please like, share, and subscribe. When you like, share, and subscribe, it helps us to know what we're doing is worthwhile and valuable, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hit that subscribe button on YouTube. Hit the like button on Facebook. Subscribe on YouTube and Twitter and the different Instagram, the different places we're at. We really, really do appreciate it. All that information is on the bottom of the screen for you. And with that,
as Michael French always ends his podcast with,
keep dreaming.